All right. So in video one, we talked about stacking the deck and understanding how arguments work. In video two, we covered how to build strong assertions, claims that are actually worth betting on. These statements, same deal. And now in video three, this is where we sometimes get messed up because you've got a great assertion and then you just throw evidence at me and I'm lost or it just is not working and everything going together. So I think you need quotes. You do because I've told you whenever you have the text available to you, you should be using quotes. And you need examples, but maybe you don't know how to actually use them. So some of you just drop them into your essay like, here's a quote, and expect me to figure out what it means and why it matters. That's not how it works. And when I say what it means, I don't mean that you need to explain the quote to me. What I mean is that you need to show me what it means in the context of your argument. So today I'm going to show you the 5 moves for embedding evidence so your reader can actually follow what you're saying. Um, right, because stacking the deck, you can't have evidence that confuses your reader because that's actually sabotaging yourself and not stacking your deck. It's actually the opposite. Okay, let me tell you a story. As you know, I have a toddler, and like most toddlers, he loves like throwing balls. He loves basketballs, baseballs, volleyballs, whatever. And when he was a little bit younger, he would just want to play and he would just grab them and throw them at people regardless of whether they were paying attention. So no warning, just you'd be sitting there and suddenly bam, ball to the face. So obviously not great. So we had to teach him before you throw the ball, you say heads up or catch, or do you want to play with me? And you let the person know it's coming and you give them a chance to get ready. Otherwise they get hit with the ball because they're not ready. They can't catch it because the ball is just coming out of nowhere. And that's exactly what you're doing when you drop a quote without context. I'm reading along, following your argument, and suddenly, bam, here's a quote. Who said this? When? Why does it matter? What? I have no idea because you didn't warn me. You didn't set me up to catch it. And here's the thing. Even if it's a great quote, if I'm not ready for it, I can't use it. It just bounces off and your evidence becomes useless because you didn't prepare your reader. You have to assume, like, remember, I am a skeptical reader. You have to take me from the known to the unknown. You have to show me what you're doing with that quote. You have to tell me why you're including it. So you can't just throw it at me. So here's what you need to do before you drop any quote. You need to give me 3 things. Who's speaking? To whom are they speaking? And when in the text does this happen? That's it. 3 things. It's not complicated, but a lot of you skip it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you're like, well, obviously the reader knows. No, I don't. I can't read your mind. You have to orient me first, then give me the quote. And I will say with some of these texts, like Macbeth or Frankenstein, like I do know a lot of the text. So if you were to give me a quote, I might just know it, but it's still, I have to do some work there. Like I have to be like, oh, this is when Macbeth meets the witches for the second time. And I have to kind of like do some work, which takes me out of your argument. You want to do that all for me so that I can be with you. You don't want me to come out of your argument to do thinking on my own because that might lead me somewhere else completely. You might have been making a point and didn't guide me to the next step. And that leads me to my own devices. So I might start thinking about some other part of an argument that I have, maybe something that someone just told me in the last essay. You really want to keep me with you. And to do that, you want to like guide me. If you were like, here, let's walk along this path together. You don't want to just like stop. Let's say this. I'm like actually very, very afraid of heights. Not being high necessarily, like being in an airplane is fine, being in anything is very fine, is okay if I'm high. What I really have trouble with is falling. So bridges are terrible. So when I went to the Statue of Liberty, being So the way that the Statue of Liberty works, you climb up this staircase inside like the body of the Statue of Liberty. And then I don't know if this still exists. At some point you couldn't, but when I went, you could go up the torch. It's a spiral staircase and it's all enclosed. The top of the torch, you can like be in the top of the torch, which is all enclosed, right? That, even though it is much, much higher than the crown, I was totally fine with. I thought it was really cool. But the crown is open. And even though it is logically pretty safe, I've never heard of someone jumping like or falling out of the crown. I don't think it's even, I don't know, but it's open is the point. And that I found terrifying. Like I could not go to the edge because I was like, what if somehow I slip through or I lean too far forward and just fall out? I don't know. It really is illogical, but that is definitely a fear of mine. When I'm on bridges, even though I've never done it before, I think, what if my foot slips and I just fly off the side? I recognize that as completely irrational, but it is my thing. It is my thing. So when we use this metaphor of a bridge, think about how I am on a bridge. You're taking me from the known to the unknown, but I am pretty terrified of heights. So if you like leave me alone, right? Like you're like, I'm just going to like go walk down here, or you don't give me that step to walk on, I'm not jumping because that is terrifying. No gaps for me. And I might even decide this is scary. I'm going back to the other side because that is easier. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you really want your reader to feel safe in your argument. And you have to say, I'm going to walk you through all of this. At the same time, you don't need to tell them what they already know. Like telling me the logic of like, don't worry, you've never slipped and ran off the road before. It doesn't like there's no reason to think that you would do this here on this bridge. Like you don't need to tell me that. Like that doesn't make me any less scared. So the things that I already know are not going to help you get further in your argument. You need to tell me something that's unknown to me that is in your head. But you need to orient me first, then give me the quote. So you need to tell me what area we're even working in so that I can take that next step with you. Who's speaking? To whom are they speaking? When in the text? And when we say when in the text, you want it to be some anchoring point, something that is significant that I can anchor onto, like something that's not like if you tell me something really specific about the text, like you're going to be like, that time that Jin was in the corner and then he turned around, like I'll be like, what are you talking about? I have no idea where that happened in the text. It has to be something that is like significant that I can anchor onto and be like, okay, yes, that is, you're talking now right before that, right after that, while that's happening. Okay, I'm with you. Who is speaking? To whom? When in the text? Okay, so for example, Katie Kirk said, what is the internet anyway? That is not great. Katie Kirk, like if you weren't in this example, like if I hadn't already told you a little bit about when this is happening, you would be like, who's Katie Couric? Why do I like, what is this? What are you telling me? But something that would be better would be saying something like, in a 1994 Today Show segment, host Katie Couric, speaking to her co-host Bryant Gumbel and their morning TV audience, asked in genuine confusion, what is internet anyway? So I'm sure you see the difference. Now I know who, to whom, and when. And now I'm ready to catch that quote. And now it makes sense. Okay, so that's the foundation. Heads up before you throw. But there's more to embedding evidence than just introducing it. So I'll give you 5 moves that will make your evidence actually work for your argument. Okay, so 1, we already did it. Call it before you throw it. Give who, to whom, when, that orients your reader before the quote. Don't make me figure out what's happening while I'm trying to understand what the quote means. Set me up first, then throw. 2. Okay, so this is use only what you need. You want to keep it tight. So use, I cannot explain. Okay, I can explain this more and I will. But really, at its simplest, just use the part of the quote that you actually need. Go for very small snippets of text. Don't give me a paragraph long quote when one sentence would do. Or don't give me a sentence long quote when 3 words would do. The longer the quote, the harder it is for me to figure out what part you want me to focus on. So be selective. And really, long quotes are for losers. When I see a long quote, you are making me think things about you, that you're being lazy, that you're trying to fill up space, that you didn't do the critical work to figure out what part of the quote actually matters for your argument. So think about the smallest piece that you can use that will prove the point that you want to make. So specific words that prove your point, think about using maybe 4 words. Like that's your target, 3 to 4 words. And then blend it in. The kind of ironic thing about this is the better you are at selecting your quotes and being selective about how much of the quote you actually need, the easier it is to make it flow in your writing because you're just making it part of the sentence. So, one of the ways to think about this is you want to take your sentence and kind of squeeze out, cut a little bit of it, and then insert the quote that would say the same thing. Just having this when you're embedding, that's a strategy that you're using that helps you to weave the quote in and make it so that it is more sophisticated. So the smoother the integration, the easier it is for me to follow. It really is like what you're going for is something where if you said the sentence, someone that isn't reading it wouldn't even know that there's a quote there. That's your goal. So another way to think about this is the way that I use the Katie Couric quote is Katie Couric came into that essay and spoke. The other way to do that would be taking Katie Couric's words and keeping it in my voice. So it would be like when Katie Couric said that the internet is, I don't know, said that the internet is whatever, then that's still in my voice, but I would have to have quotes around whatever it is that Katie Couric said. I'd need actually more of the interview in order to do what I just did. But anyway, I hope that you understand what I'm saying there. But you want it to flow with your writing and not just plop it. We know, and a lot of most of you understood this from the lorem ipsum test that you took, that you can't just plop in a sentence, but also the embedding quote is a little bit more sophisticated than that introducing with the character said. So that makes it easier for me to follow. You know that this is something that you should do. You want it to feel natural, not like it's Frankenstein together. So the next one here is explain what it proves. Okay, so this is pretty huge because you don't want me to assume I see what you see in that quote. And if I did, that actually is a problem. So after you give me the evidence, tell me what it is that it proves. So how does this support your assertion? What am I supposed to understand from this? Show me. Take me from the known to the unknown and don't make me guess about what you're thinking. And then finally, am I stacking my deck? There's that question again. Does this evidence actually make your case stronger, or did you just include it because you needed another quote? Because I told you that you needed to. Be ruthless. If it's not stacking your deck, cut it. Only use evidence that actually builds your argument. So those are the 5 moves. And every time you use evidence, you can run through these. Call it before you throw it. Use only what you need, keep it tight, blend it in, explain what it proves, and make sure it's actually stacking your deck. Okay, so that's how you embed your evidence without losing your reader. Remember that your evidence is only as good as your ability to use it. And if I am confused coming off of your quote, it is completely useless. and a decent quote that you integrate well and explain clearly, that stacks your deck. In the next and last video, I think, we're talking about commentary, which is the hardest, but is actually the most important part and should be making up the majority of your argument. Because really, you can't have great assertions and great evidence without that connection. That is what makes your argument really, that's where commentary comes in. So last final reminder, heads up before you throw, orient me, make it easy for me to catch what you're giving me, stack your deck, and I will see you next time.